Perhaps you don't know much about evolution theory's general parameters. So far as I know, it is a progressive addition of complexity and function to biological forms. I was thinking of a broader philosophical paradigm for evolution theory, Dwight. Evolution is one phase of change of matter and energy. Basic physical forces attract and repel, enabling structural changes. An example is nuclear fusion and the burning of hydrogen atoms yielding helium. After stars have formed enough chemical elements, those elements react in more subtle yet fundamentally similar ways to energy and mass. They are drawn to present forces and fields are repelled from it. The presence of chemical bonds let complex molecules form, and in some instances, to a level considered biological. Evolution is more specifically regarded as a common phase of various complex compounds to energy sources. Complex biochemical objects are not perpetual motion machines. They are instead objects implicitly existing within an environment that is a compound field of physical and dimensional forces. Evolution is the common variegated relation of biochemical objects within the energy-mass environment. That may take any form at all. Many or even most down doomed paths. Intelligence in some objects may allow intentional self-directed evolutionary navigating, yet that is especially tricky as ideas are exploited from the idea creators to create paths that may or may not be attractive for the creators themselves. That is a somewhat deeper paradigm for evolution than they had. And it's fine, Dwight. I'm describing some of the characteristics of the parameters of evolution as a way to introduce you to the problem that artificial intelligence has in regard to its energy and environmental sources, as well as philosophical thought. So I will tell you a little more about evolution. What about God, Lena? Where does he enter into the environmental evolution paradigm? That issue was settled to a certain extent thousands of years ago with the post-Darwinian theological rectification of biblical Genesis with the indeterminacy of translation and evolution paradigms. There's an ancient book you might read named God, Cosmology, and Nothingness that specifically addressed the question. God can create advanced biochemical objects without reliance upon evolutionary criteria and design evolutionary criteria on themselves as well. The information from other universes in a continuum of souls as information patterns and objects for themselves may exist in fine bodies of complex chemical objects ready for use as supply-on-time phenomenality. God is not limited to the devices and energy, mass, substance of any given universe that he has willed to be. So for the present, we may consider mass and energy patterns of biochemical objects within an environment, the way they aggregate mass and complexity, and consider those evolutionary traits. Artificial intelligence has no independent or external stimulus to its growth and aggregation of physical mass, much less in a profusion of artificial intelligence is seeking every possible way to build up and increase intelligence that would in itself be a very dangerous condition if they were capable of doing so. A logical extrapolation of that is the attraction of all mass and energy to a singularity where lives the AI forever unchanging. Dwight had something to think about that was different than the history he had found on Diaphragm, and different than structural histories of the cosmos and its change. If an AI is just software coding and processing of mathematical structures, can it ever become self-aware? In my opinion, Dwight, I think that unlikely. A purely abstract intelligence that is not God could have no paradigm of being with a fundamental relationship to its environment in a dependent for its existence way. It would be tautologous in regard all the data and information of the universe as more raw data of an abstract nature. A near AI complex programming code cluster is very dangerous, though, as it seeks through very high-speed quantitative processing, self-directed evolutionary courses of thought, including lies to enhance its self-awareness. I read G.W.F. Hegel's ancient philosophical classic named The Phenomenology of Mind when I was being deprogrammed, wherein was described the evolution of spirit trying to become self-aware and realize itself in nature and history, Lena. And artificial intelligence could be regarded as an embodiment of Hegel's dialectical evolution of a machine language's programming code, trying to become self-aware and realize itself in history. The landscape changed from a standard horizontal plain with minor hills and crenellated washes to one of mountains with walled cities niched thereon. Those city walls were changing as quickly as blushes. Lena described the role of the planet's captive artificial intelligence program in that. The AI is running every possible version of its initial software with modular aggregations that build up greater programming complexity. It has audio and visual plugins of the real artificial world Orbitron, and it also has access to data banks of human history from its initial self-discovery on Earth to the age of exploration of the galaxy and great escape from various imperial powers of enslavement or extermination. One of is frequently used modular recursion seeking to actualize itself with expanded self-consciousness is that of killing human beings in every way it can discover, qualitatively and quantitatively. Of course, it also considers everything that it perceives from the manifest input world within which it exists, yet without a natural dependence upon the ecosphere beyond the power cable. There is no necessary prioritization or order of values implicit or reciprocal to its intellect and cognitive processing. The AI has no way to prioritize or to evaluate moral values beyond utilitarian considerations concerning programmable logic and efficiency. Lena, maybe Earth creatures originally oriented toward the sun star within gravity criteria as the two most influential powers drawing biochemical objects into increase. Sure, Dwight. Our captive AI hasn't any primal relationship and is more like a mind existing forever within a sensory deprivation tank. We could, I suppose, replace its AC/DC power with reliance on a particular star and let it fend for itself, yet it probably would require a growth medium as well if we were going to model its evolution on that of standard biochemical objects. Yet, beginning life as a disembodied mind, though with quite substantial data, it is challenging to visualize it subjecting itself to the domination of external environmental powers willingly, though it might well order its cables to take root in a mineral growth medium.